Hello, and welcome to Healthy California podcast. My name is Linda Brown, and I am the host of Healthy California, where my goal is to help educate you on your daily choices so we all can become healthy. I believe you, your family, your neighbor, and your community are all looking for better ways and simple ways to return to being healthy. Many of you have health issues or have family that's going through tough times that seemingly have no answers. It's frustrating. There are questions about health, environment, foods, exercise, and lifestyle, and it can be all overwhelming. And who do you believe? And where's the science behind it? This podcast will unravel the mystery behind being unhealthy and talk about little things that we can do in our lives to make a positive change in our health from all angles. So to be healthy, we need to have physical health, mental health, environmental health, financial and social health, and of course, spiritual health. Let's answer some of these questions to get healthy. What good is just listening to a podcast? I will give you resources as well, ways to take steps and make positive changes in your life to becoming healthy. This is a journey, not an assignment, so be kind to yourself. Hello, California. Linda Brown here. Today I'm going to talk about food deserts and food insecurities. So we can always listen to podcasts about how to get healthier, what to eat, how to just live a healthy life. But what if you don't have access or means to eat healthier? So that's what we're going to be talking about today. Because in a perfect world, of course, we can always just eat healthy, right? It's easy to talk about. But not everyone has access. And that's important. So that's what I'm going to start off talking about is food deserts and food insecurity. And what is that? So a food desert, and some people call it a food apartheid. I think the term food desert is going away because it's not necessarily a desert. And when you think of a food desert, you actually think of a barren land. And that's not what a food desert is. So a food desert is where people have limited access to affordable and nutritious foods. We maybe still have access to food, but there are no nearby supermarkets or grocery stores, markets that would actually have the healthy foods in it. So these food deserts might have more convenience stores or fast food. You know, you can go to Taco Bell and get a 99-cent burrito. Well, at least you used to be able to. And that, 99 cents, maybe that's all you have for the day. And maybe that's your whole meal for the day. So that is a food desert. So it's not having access to affordable and nutritious food. So a 99-cent burrito might fill your stomach, but how nutritious is that? And so these food deserts will typically have community that has more disease processes because they don't have food that can help them replenish and heal their body, on a daily basis when we put our body through a lot. So people will eat out of convenience stores. They will, go to a convenience store to get their milk, which is a lot more expensive, really. But what is the other choice, right? So we're going to talk about the choices that we have. We'll talk about that because it's always, again, it's always easy to talk about eating healthy unless you are in the position where you cannot. So that's a food desert. You don't have access. So a food insecurity then is having limited or uncertain access to adequate nutritious food. So you might have, the food might be there. You could be sitting in your house looking out your window at this beautiful market, but you just can't get there. Either you don't have access to it because you don't have the money, or you don't have access to it because maybe you have a disability and you can't actually physically get there. So the food may be there, but you don't have access to it. So that's a food insecurity. And a lot of times the communities have a community of people that have food, that are in a food desert and have food insecurity. So what do we do? What do we do with that? And it's all about, at this point, it's all about having nutritious food, not just food, but nutritious food. And so what if this doesn't apply to you? Should you just stop listening to the rest of this podcast? No, because it does apply to you. It's about community. we live in a community. It's easy for us to think this is someone else's problem, but it's not. It's everyone's problem, because if a community of people don't have access to just making healthy choices, that affects everyone. It affects our healthcare costs. It increases the poverty level. It increases disease. It affects everyone. So we all need to kind of take responsibility and do what we can to make our community healthy. So it's about being part of a community and taking care of your community. So there is this, if you look at Netflix, go to Netflix or Google or get on your computer and look up blue zones. Blue zones there's 5 blue zones in the world right now, and the blue zones are the areas where there are a high amount of centenarians, people that are over 100 years old. The blue zones, what all the blue zones have in common, one of the things are a sense of community. So being involved in your community, of course, being active, eating healthy, those are all part of being able to live over 100 years old. So the community part is an important part. Taking care of your community is just as important as taking care of yourself, because you're not in this world by yourself. So how do you take care, what do you do to take care of your community? Or how do you do your part in this? If you look up, there is a website, it's also in my show notes, a Food Access Research Atlas, and it's an interactive website where you can put in your address and you can see what the demographics are around you, your socioeconomic demographics. And if you are in a food desert or have food insecurities, it'll show you that. And then you can decide, if you are in a position where you can help your community. Give back or just do little things every time you go to the store. Every little thing helps, especially if you get involved in your community or do your part or whatever you want to do. I'm not saying you have to really do anything, but if you are wanting a sense of community and helping your community, here are some ideas. And I really think that it's important to be involved in your community, because this is where you live. And everyone needs help. And at any time in someone's life, someone is going to need help. And if you have the means to help someone, then help someone and build that community. So some ideas are find a neighbor, a school, someone that is a friend of a friend, and if they are having trouble with their grocery shopping, every time you go to the store, ask them if you can buy them some fruits or vegetables, something healthy. And I keep saying something healthy because it's easy to buy a whole bunch of cans because it's cheap, and giving people canned foods, and that's still better than nothing for sure. But if you have the means to give someone something healthy, that is even more important, because your body can't heal itself if you don't put healthy stuff into it. And when we talk about reducing poverty, a lot of the times people that are living on the streets because of mental health, mental health is a very difficult subject, but a lot of mental health can also be helped with having a good diet, because serotonin, 75 to 90% of serotonin that your brain needs is made in the stomach. And if you don't have a healthy stomach, then you're not going to have healthy serotonin that your brain needs. And your brain makes some too, but not as much. So it all comes back down to putting good stuff in your body. If you have the means and you can give someone that needs help something healthy, that would be important. And also, what about starting a garden? If you don't have a garden to start, help someone start their own garden. Give seeds for a birthday gift instead of, candies. Take a gardening class with a friend and learn how to plant a garden, or maybe start a community garden. If you already know how to garden, maybe start a community garden. Maybe start a weekly garden group where you go out and you teach people how to garden, or you just talk about your gardening. And then when the harvest comes, you all switch Fruits and vegetables, if you have extra, you give it out. I have 2 lemon trees in my yard that were here when I moved in, and they produce the best, juiciest lemons, and it's more lemons than I can possibly use. Those lemons I can give away. Lemons are so good for you. And you can use lemons as salad dressing instead of having to go out and buy salad dressing. You can use lemons for cleaning. Actually, you can use lemons to clean your pots and pans. There's a lot of uses for lemons, and it's healthy. It's good for the environment. In California, we have orange trees everywhere. And if you have orange trees, it's a shame to let those orange trees just drop their oranges without doing anything with them. So if you don't want to pick your oranges, just open up your orange tree for other people to come get the oranges as they need. Or put all your oranges in a box out on the street and say free oranges. Someone's going to take them. They're not stealing them if you put them out there, and it's better that they get put to good use than to just sit there and rot. So if you have extra anything, give it away if you're not going to use it, because people out there are going to need it. People out there do need it. And I also want to kind of make you think about where you're getting your help. So I don't think that you should depend on the government to help you with your whatever it is you need. If the government can help you, that's great. But don't depend on your government, because you might just be constantly disappointed. Don't be afraid to ask for help. There are organizations out there that can help you. Contact your local food bank. There are local churches out there that are doing, giveaways, food giveaways, and just get on their list to receive help. And don't be afraid to ask for help. And then someday when you are in the position where you can help other people, then, you're going to be paying it. You're going to be paying it forward. People are paying it forward to you. And in addition to that, there's a lot of cultural education that needs to happen. The cultural education, there are different cultures that don't know what might be healthy and not healthy. And it's like, really, do we need to be telling other cultures how to eat healthy? The standard American diet is pretty much what people from other cultures come in here and they end up gaining weight because they're eating the standard American diet, which is not healthy at all. Standard American diet, they call it the SAD diet, standard American diet, because people from other cultures move to the U.S., they end up gaining weight, they end up getting unhealthy because they're not eating the foods they were normally eating. Why am I talking about cultural education? I'm not really going to, but I'm going to share an experience that I had when I was in Mexico a few years ago. I went to a local convenience store to get some water. The water at this convenience store was in the very bottom corner of this refrigerator, and 1 liter of water cost $2. The rest of the cooler refrigerator was filled with sodas. You had Pepsi, you had Coke, Sprite, Squirt, all these sodas in 2 liter bottles of sodas for $1, or a 1 liter bottle of water for $2. That does not make any sense. Like, water, a natural source of water, was more expensive than a liter of Coke. So do you think that the soda industry had any sort of influence on that community? Yeah, obviously, of course it did. And sodas can be, when you're in a hot area, sodas can be so refreshing, but it's so horrible for you. And when I'm mentioning cultural education, the freshness of a soda might be so good that you don't even realize it's bad for you. Why would they be selling things that are bad for you? So just the education of knowing that it's horrible for you. You might not feel the effects of that, at the moment, but the long-term effect is, you're heading down the road to diabetes, your bone health is going down. Everything is that you can think about that's horrible putting in your body. That's what soda is. So if you're drinking soda right now, try to get it out of your diet. So that's what I meant by culture education, is just trying to get educated on what out there is unhealthy and what is healthy. And I just want to remind you that, we're all in this together. So when we talk about being healthy, and I'm talking about a healthy California, I'm talking about a community where, we are individually trying to be healthy, but we want the people around us to be healthy as well. And, whether we have to ask for help from our local church, our pastors, our food banks, ask for the help, but we need to take care of each other. You have to love your neighbor as yourself. Matthew 22:39. It's not us versus you, it's us all together. And we all need help through different times of our life. So I want you to think about just taking care, if you have the means, take care of your neighbors around you and love them like you would love yourself. Thank you for listening to Healthy California. I hope you learned something today. Treatment and health care should be proactive and preventative, so getting to the root cause of a disease or illness is so important. The U.S. has a good trauma medicine design, which means you see a doctor when there is already a problem. Let's beat disease before it happens. This podcast represents my opinions based on my research and education and is not intended to be used for medical diagnosis or treatment. It is not a substitute for your doctor or any healthcare provider. I provide education only. If you are looking for more answers or have questions, you can find my contact information in the show notes, or find a functional nutritionist or functional medicine practitioner to add to your healthcare team. In order for me to continue providing this free information, I depend on you to follow, subscribe, like, tell your family and friends about this podcast. Make sure you set your notifications to let you know when a new podcast is published. In addition, I can't do anything without my sponsors who I have personally vetted and highly recommend. I would never have a sponsor that I don't agree with or wouldn't use personally. I want you to gather as much information as possible in order to take back your health. You can do it, and I want to help you get there.